And for all your HR needs, Sedat Consult. You never go wrong with them. Welcome once again. Today we have another exciting topic we're going to be discussing. And I know that many people have been wondering how to handle people, how to handle their bosses, difficulties, and stuff like that. Today we are looking at handling a difficult boss. How do you handle a difficult boss? How do you even identify that this is indeed a difficult boss? And so you can handle them. We have a resource person in the house. We have a wonderful woman. She's in the person of Emmeline Date. I will give you a short profile and then we zoom into that. Emmeline Date is an SME consultant, public speaker, brand influencer, HR strategist, Pan African business leader, trainer, career coach, board member, events engineer, youth advocate, and mentor. She is loaded. She's the founder of ICS Africa, a Pan African company providing business and event solutions, which also serves as the country representative for the female leaders and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs Conference powered by Compass Global Lagos, Nigeria. Additionally, she's a certified John Maxwell speaker, coach and trainer, and a member of Association of Coaching Practitioners Ghana and the Association of Certified an Association of Certified HRs Ghana. She has 12 years of corporate HR experience, 8 years in SME consulting, and over 15 years of public speaking experience in both physical and virtual events combined. She runs a youth-based mentorship and personal development group called Level Up Africa, which is designed to support, nurture, and raise young leaders and innovators between the ages of 18 and 30 for the development of the African continent. She's also the director for memberships and business development at the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs. Emily has been honored as one of Ghana's most influential women in 2017, one of the top 100 speakers in Ghana in 2018, and one of the 2020 50 most influential young Ghanaians. So you see, today we can't go wrong with our discussion. She's all rounded, she's around the continent, and so we have it. It's an in depth discussion we're going to be having with her. So as you stay tuned, let's welcome Emmeline on. Hi, Emmeline.
Hello.
Good to see
Hi.
you. You're
Good to
welcome.
see you too. Thank you very much.
I know we met about 2014 thereabouts, and I saw the hunger for excellence, the hunger for great things, and you have been at it. Congratulations, and good to have you.
Thank you so much, Vera. Thank you to you,
Awesome.
Patricia, for having me.
Right. So, Emmeline, today you are a guest on HR Sedat Consult. We're going to be discussing how to handle a difficult boss, how to handle one. And I'm sure there'll be our guests who are wondering. We've been dealing with this boss for so long. We have no clue how to go around him. But today you are going to unravel that situation for them. So
Yeah,
tell us, how
my
do we
good
first
place.
of all like, even identify, who a difficult boss is, or say that okay, because of ABCD, this is a difficult boss.
Hmm. So I'd like to put it in context. There is the perceptive definition of when you say a boss is difficult. To a man who is lazy, or woman who is lazy, or somebody who does not like hard work, if you find yourself in such a boss, you will tell people work and come out of the comfort zone. I mean, people who are your generation X workers will say that kind of a boss is difficult, but that is not the kind of difficult boss we are talking about. Because that's if you have such a boss like that, that is not a difficult boss. That is a boss who is disciplined and fixated on results. But we are looking at a boss who is toxic. I mean, toxicity is when it becomes an issue of concern. You hear doctors say that, oh, if you have symptoms of this, that, and that, it's okay. But the moment you have these other symptoms, call a doctor. So it's the same thing here. When you find out you have a boss that is affecting your mental state, it does not provide a safe work environment for you, that boss is difficult. For example, these bosses do not listen to common sense. Reasoning is very far from such people. So you normally find yourself being provoked to anger or frustration when you're with such a boss. Or the person is too demanding where he or she is expecting unrealistic things from you, right? And then a difficult boss is one who micromanages. Goodness, they are always checking on you, always trying to control every aspect of your work. They do not believe in you. You know, they can be very disrespectful, they use harsh words against you, they can be verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, dysfunctional criticism, you know, sarcasm, and all of those things, even belittling you. They can be very unsupportive. You know, they don't provide guidance or direction. But when things go wrong, then they blame you. They never take responsibility for anything. They always blame their subordinates when things are bad, and then they take the credit when things are good. You know, so these are the things. This is what we say when you have all of these criteria, categories, or sorry, characteristics of a boss. That is a difficult boss. Hello, Vera.
Right. Okay. So, Imani, sorry about that. So, having outlined all of this, you're looking at a boss who is micromanaging, disrespectful, belittling, probably verbally, abusive or even emotionally. And this is affecting you. How do you handle such a situation? What do you do? And probably management is aware, but he's a top performer. And so they would rather have him than not have him. What do you do as somebody who's working for such a person?
Right. So, from experience, I've had to work with two such of a people in my lifetime.
Mm,
On until I left or until the person was sacked, I had to first of all understand that I cannot determine people's attitudes towards me, but I can determine my reaction towards their attitude. So the first thing I had to do was to assess the situation and understand the problem. Because Vara, some people are difficult, but it's not because you caused it, but they have their personal issues that they brought to the work. You understand? Some people have their own framework. They're just negative by default because of the environment they've grown up in, or certain life circumstance has actually happened to them. And so they've decided that, listen, the best way to manage what they've been through, how they feel, is just to make other people's lives miserable. So in understanding this kind of people is going to help you a lot.
mm,
People who are very difficult always have a soft spot. Do you understand? And
right.
first of all, don't take things personal with them. You get the point. Sometimes some
Mm-hmm.
of them have power struggle issues. They might be top performers, but they don't like where they are. They want to aim higher, and nobody's giving them that chance. And so anybody who comes their way has brought themselves unintentionally, you know. So that boss to be have a lot on his plate, and he or she does not have the wisdom to handle it. And so instead of
Mm,
having the right attitude towards it, then they use people as their scapegoats. You can
right.
such people are found in a highly political organization where it is the survivor for the fittest.
Mm,
If you have a highly ambitious boss who would not care about what he does to get to where he is, that person can be like that. So when you notice that your boss's issue is that he or she likes affirmation, the person has attention, please, by all means, we're not saying lick the foot of your boss. We are saying, as long as you are there, let peace reign and comment just like you do for anybody. Give commendations. Boss, wow, did you change your tie or something? You're looking a bit different today. You see your hair? Wow, boss, you do all. Oh, I tell you, those people, pa, it works like magic. Anybody who is a snob by default, who tries to pretend like he or she is difficult, all you have to do is pay attention and give them some small commendation. You've gotten them. And when they so some of them will not show you immediately that they are moved by what you've said. But when you do not show that the things they do to you is worrying you, it's like ice. Warm water will melt it eventually, right? So
Yeah.
you just need to be warm towards your cold boss.
Mm.
Identify and also try to be a problem solver. Maybe you see the boss wants a position and he's so boss, you know what? Even if you don't get that position, you are still good at what you do. You are still
Mm.
great at what you do. So, boss, I mean, just look at what the boss is paying attention to and corner him or her there. It works like magic. And this is not you flattering the person. I'm not saying say things that are not true about your boss. Please, no.
Mm.
By all means, don't lie. Because that's even make it worse. Identify what he or she is good at and focus on it for him. Because that is what that your boss is missing. Instead of he or she to focus on what is working, he or she is looking at the glass half empty instead of what half full. You understand? And like
Mm.
I said, don't take it personally. It's not you. The person may have be having a bad day, a bad life, a bad situation, and you happen to be working with the person. Understand it's not about you. So manage your emotions around the person so that you also reduce stress for yourself. If you don't do that, you will not be able to function normally. You know, no organization is perfect. Once it's a human institution, you will always find one of such people. You get it? So, if, except you want to be running from pillar to post, or you decide that you become like me, or like Patricia, you want to be an entrepreneur, then hey, come and join the ride. But if you enjoy taking salary at the end of every month, where you don't have to think about how money comes to the organization directly, then please, you need to learn how to be emotionally intelligent and manage your boss. I always tell employees learn to manage your boss. And then do not allow your boss's attitude affect the quality of your work. Such people respect people that deliver.
Mm.
Once you deliver all the time consistently, perfectly, ooh, I tell you, they might not tell it to your face, but when you're having general meetings, they cannot lie. They will just say, you know what, Vera, no matter what you do to Vera, Vera can do the job. They are the first people to give you commendation. you know, more often than not. They say, listen, I've tried and tested this lady. Yeah, she has my back all the time. You know, then there's another thing that Africans need to learn how to do, which I know the Westerners are used to doing. When you're working with a difficult boss, you know you still need to set boundaries. Don't let them get to you to a point of disrespecting you. Let them professionally know what you will tolerate and what you would not. Boss, I really, with all due respect, I understand that you're my boss, but the words you said to me, truthfully and respectfully, I wish it would not happen again. Let them know what you take and say it with as respectfully as you can. People like that respect people who are bold. When you are always timid, you're giving them more power. You get it, Vera? Yeah, you give them more power when you are timid. But when they see
Mm.
that you are not afraid, you see, those people, when they see you're afraid of them, it annoys them. Say, am I a monster? You get it? Yeah, you're making them feel like they are monsters. No, they want to be treated like normal human beings. So stick to what is right and be assertive in expressing to the person what it is that you would permit and what you would not permit in a very respectful way, but very firm and assertive.
Right.
And then where you see, you know, um, such organizations, you see people normally gossip about side bosses, which I mean we've all fallen into the traps. I mean, nobody is perfect. But it is safer for you not to gossip about your boss with your colleagues, because those same colleagues are the ones that go and tell your boss what you said. Do you get it? They will obviously sell you out. One person will obviously sell you out. So, as much as possible, avoid talking about your boss in the office. All right. You can go home and you can throw tantrums in the house with your family members or what have you, those that don't have a connection with him or her, but avoid it as much as possible in the office. And if you see that you have a boss whose toxicity is off the roof, document every evidence you have so that when it's time to solve your matter, it's not your word against him or her. Right? When you know that this person is out for you, you've tried everything I've said, all the professional attitude, the emotional intelligence, and these people will change. Document every single thing he or she does not do right or does wrong, so that when it's time for you to defend yourself, you have everything you need to defend yourself. Okay? And
Mm,
obviously, communicate effectively when you are trying to express your dissatisfaction. Understand that the person and the issue are not the same thing. Okay?
mm,
So do not try to say because this person is like this, that is the reason why he did that. No. I would appreciate if this situation is handled in a particular way. Oh, I would appreciate if both of us can sit down and think about how to move forward from this situation. I would appreciate if we can agree to disagree. Using such words, use words that are empowering. Do you understand? In negative situations, always try to use words that are empowering. It will always help you to stay, at the right place. So you do what is right. And then finally, ensure that you maintain professionalism in all you do. Stay
mm.
professional. Whatever you do, nobody can defeat a professional person. Yeah,
All right. So, you're talking about drawing boundaries with such people, staying professional. One thing you said that was interesting was maybe you're saying that we should fund their ego. But as you fund their ego, make sure that they are not lies, they are real things, so
yes,
that
yeah,
you don't end up, crossing carpets and getting into trouble with him or her. Now,
absolutely.
you also mentioned that documentation is normally the name of the game. So that you are not found wanting, it's like you're telling stories. You should document evidence so that when the push comes to shove, you have something to show that this is what you have been enduring.
Absolutely.
Now, with toxic people, can they ever be helped? Are they people that can be helped, and how do you get them help in that situation?
That's a very interesting question. So
Mm,
organizations should be very particular about their employees and the situation they find themselves in.
mm,
It's very important that I these days when it comes to best human resource practices, engaging in a third party employee assistance program provider will help a lot because there's so much happening, so much emotions are being played around. A neutral person is trained to come and mediate, what the problem is. So, such a person needs to be assigned to an employee assistance program professional. Normally, they will identify if this person has a psychological issue so they can provide help for that person. If it's a work on the job issue, they provide support for that person. And a counselor takes the person through, or the assigned coach or EAP service provider would take the person through the rudiments of assessment, find out exactly what the problem, go to the core of what is causing the person's behavioral deficiency, and then provide the solution, to ensure that this person comes out of that toxicity. So yes, I mean, it's like saying somebody who has a mental issue, you take the person to a psychiatric hospital. But when it comes to behavioral issues, psychologists are the ones who are trained to handle, and we have organizational psychologists trained to handle these things. So assign this person to one, and you will see the results.
right. Okay. Thank you. It's good to know that they can actually be helped, and I think it means that organizations should take it a step further. Just not just listening and trying to solve it in house. They must engage, a professional to handle the situation. Let's
Absolutely.
quickly give a shout out to our listeners. Zachary Salamat, hi from Kumasi. Michael Kisi watching from Cape Coast. We have Happy Benadine and Noche Nidabi. Yes, yes, happens a lot. She said, true, true. I have experienced a few times. Please go ahead. Feel free, share your experiences with us. Ask your questions as we go along, and let's try and address these issues. Now, Emmeline, I know you've been around, a lot in many leadership positions. You are grooming the youth. You are taking care of a lot of issues. I know you're also into mental health issues in the workplace and all of that. Now, um, with between men and women, who are more prone to be seen as difficult bosses, and why is that?
It's interesting you asked that question. You see, emotional frameworks, male and women and female, are not the same, right? So, um, women are naturally supposed to be nurturers, okay? They're
Mm,
supposed to be kind, sweet, warm. But if that woman is coming from a place of bitterness, that can be reversed. Okay.
Mm.
So most times women bosses who are bitter, more often than not, is a relationship problem. More often than not, they have relationship issues. That they are divorced, or they're not happy in their homes, or they've been single and they're not finding somebody to love, or they're not finding true love, or they have issues with their children, problematic children in their home, problems with their in-laws. I'm telling you, all of these things can make
Mm.
turn a sweet woman into, a very dangerous human being.
Yeah.
And if she's not able to manage her, I mean, we are women, we all have our own dramas in life, but you don't see every woman wearing everything on their heads and showing the world that, hey, life is bad for me. No, but we
Mm.
do have a certain statistics of women who cannot handle their private issues, and then they turn out to, you know, reflect on other people. For the men are less emotional, more logical. For a man, if he anything has to do with his ego, he's unable to achieve what he wants to achieve. He's not where he wants to be. Some of them too, if they are not kings in their homes. Their wives are not allowing them to be kings at home. Substance abuse and all of that. That obviously would affect them when they are bosses. So I would not say that statistically we have more women being bad bosses than men. I don't have that information. But what I can say is that you can't find both men and women in that situation if all of this the stimuli I have mentioned are the things affecting them, and they don't have the maturity or the emotional intelligence to separate personal life from professional life. But it is very important to know that you really cannot expect people to not have their emotions drawn or reflected in a professional life. So that is why employers must ensure that they have a safe space for their employees, where they know that when things are going wrong with them, they have a safe space to talk about it and get better.
Right. Okay. So there's definitely that situation where you can have a female who is difficult, you can have a male who is difficult, but whatever makes them difficult varies depending on their situations.
Exactly.
Um, yes, it's also been said that mostly people who have come from dysfunctional family backgrounds are more prone to being toxic. And so they carry a baggage right from childhood. It's a foundational thing. So, with such people, how do you get around them? Because it's a deep seated thing rather than just a character trait. Something that's been built, so to speak, built in them right from childhood, what they witness, what they believe life is all about, and where they are going in life, the satisfaction and all of that. How do you manage them? You have said a lot about how to draw boundaries, and but some of them are to the point of almost being abusive. So how do you abusive physically? Probably they do that elsewhere. They may be
Mm.
restrained, but you realize that as you deal with them, like you said, if you do not draw the boundaries so they do not disrespect you beyond a certain point, it could get physical.
Yeah,
Is it?
very.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that Vera, when you don't need to put yourself expose yourself to danger. If at a
Mm,
point where you have set the boundaries and it's not working, if your employer is also unwilling to put things in place to ensure you are safe, then you have to
mm,
resign. But
right.
I mean, if a staff should resign because the employer has not provided his duty to care for you, then you can take it up to labor commission that
Mm,
you are not giving, a good safe space to work. And I mean, that would be unfair termination on the part of the employee
mm,
of the employer if an employee should resign because the space is not safe to work. But
right.
then before you're able to go into mediation, your life is first. If you cannot get a restraining order from the person from affecting you, then what is important is that you have to like plan your exits. I mean, I left a particular work experience because the woman's behavior affected my blood pressure, and I couldn't take it anymore. I had to resign. Yeah, so you should know when it's time to go, basically.
Right. Right. I was lucky as a much younger worker. I experienced a very, very, very toxic boss. And apparently, there was a high turnover in the role that I had taken. And so, management was taking steps to already get him out. And he was so petty. There were very little things. He can come early in the morning and complain about why your pencil is not sharpened. He's getting, I mean, he's serious about it, dead serious. And as a young girl, it gets to you so much. You don't even know what to do about it. So eventually, when he hears the board of directors are coming into town, it was an international organization, he also makes arrangements and moves out of town, and they never met him. So this time around, they
Wow.
had to ambush him. They had to ambush him and then transfer him to the London office. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
end of it, because they
Ah,
couldn't stand another employee, resigning just because of him. So it can be that bad. Now,
absolutely.
how does such characters, okay, affect the work environment or output? How can that affect that?
Vera, first of all, it can decrease morale. Oh my goodness. You will start having depressed staff who are afraid, they lose their confidence. And when that happens, work productivity is basically gone on the low. I mean, you will not be able to achieve your organizational objectives. Um, Customers will complain. A lot of things will definitely go wrong. You
Right.
cannot risk having such a person. It will not create the right environment for your employees to be productive. Every goal of every employer is to have productive employees to ensure profitability of the organization. So if you do not have a safe space for your staff to work, forget about it. You'll be paying salaries every month. You will not get a return on investment. So please,
Hmm.
employers should not joke with this kind of a thing. If you have any staff who is problematic, please get rid of that staff. Uh, Either you get rid of the staff's behavior, and the staff is not cooperating, please go through the legal process and let the person go.
Right. Okay, great. So let's go back. We have Yvonne Quintin. Kofi says the topic is timely as the economic conditions doesn't help matters. Female bosses are the worst culprits, my personal experience. I was compelled to resign as I couldn't take it anymore. Ah, I hope that the female bosses would be listening and they'll make a change. Right. I was going to go to this toxicity, but I think you've already addressed that. But must we really, you have touched on it, but I want you to go a bit deeper. Must we really condone such things in the office? Must we? Just because the person is performing, just because the person is raking in money or sales, whatever it is, must we really condone it? Must we?
No,
As
it's a flat
management.
no. Vera, there is
Mm-hmm.
no way you should condone toxicity. A highly
Right.
toxic organization is not a good organization. It will die. Okay, you would waste all your money you've invested in your employees or in your infrastructure, in your strategy, and all of that. Ensure you have a culture that is strong, healthy, and safe for employees to work. Do not tolerate a negatively political work environment. It's a no-no.
Great, Emma. So we'll quickly take a break. And then when we come back, we'll continue from there. Right. So let me see what we have before we go. Zachary Salma says, I have had such experience with both gender, and I finally had to quit. I don't pray for my enemy to encounter such characters. I see. So we quickly go on a break, and when we come back from the break, we'll continue this conversation. Right, we are back. And for all those who just joined us, we are discussing working with a difficult boss. There's been a lot that has come up. A difficult boss micromanages. He can be disrespectful, he's verbally abusive, and of course, it emotionally affects you. He can be belittling, dysfunctional, and usually it's from a place of dysfunctionality. And a difficult boss may not be the type that provides direction and yet would blame you for everything and is not able to take the fall. It's just all about the fact that he highlights your inefficiencies, and that makes it difficult to work with such a boss. Now, as we were talking, a few guidelines came about how to work with such bosses, and our guest, our resource person, said that you needed to draw boundaries. You needed as much as possible to fund their ego, but it has to be the truth. You need to tell them, give them, you give them the motivation, to start them off on a good note. Yes, basically, you have to document evidence because sometimes it gets so bad. And if you have to approach the board or the management, if you have to go to labor commission, wherever you must go to, you must have evidence to prove. Without that, you don't have a case and it'll be difficult to address it. You have to stay professional. Whatever you do, you stay professional. One of the things that came up was that you one of the things that came up was that you ensure that you are drawing the boundary such that he's not disrespecting you beyond getting physical with you. And so this is just a quick catch up with that. Now, HR Digest is brought to you at every Sunday at 4 p.m. by Sedat Consult and FA Impressions. FA Impressions are the go-to people for your branding and printing needs. I think we've lost Emmeline a bit. Let's just hold on a bit as she comes back in. Maybe we can go on another break quickly. And then while she gets back online, we lost her. I think we've just been joined by Abena Afrakuma Prempe from Accra. Abena. So share your experiences, keep your topics coming in, keep your questions coming in. Let's address them for you whilst we wait to have Emmeline back in the studio. Okay, so all right, so we're back here. Emmeline is with us. So right. So once Emmeline comes back, what she's going to address for us is at what point do you decide that this is enough and I need to quit to safeguard my mental, my mental health? At what point is enough? Emily, I think your speaker is silent.
Vera, I'm trying to get rid of the noise.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's continue. So you were saying?
Yeah, so I was saying that at what point does one say that, look, enough is enough? To safeguard my mental health, I must exit. At what point do you come to that point?
Oh, your body has a way of knowing when a trigger has gotten the
Mm,
best out of you. The moment you see that you are unable to perform anymore, you don't have inspiration, you're not motivated,
mm,
the person around you does not give you peace of mind, then you know that that is it. You've tried everything in your power to ensure that you've reported this person, and then things are sorted out. There's a delay, and it's affecting you on the job, especially when you are going through your performance assessment and people are still blaming you for poor performance after you have reported the reason why you're not performing. Then it's time
mm,
to go. No employer is worth your mental sanity. No
mm.
employer. You need to understand that your health comes first. You can stay there and say you want to pay salary, that oh, life is hard, there is no economy, is bad, there are no jobs. But every month you'll be going to the hospital. That money you are earning will enter, will become hospital tithe and offering. you know, I love the 90 thing. So do not idolize jobs, don't idolize employers. Have faith. For those of you who believe in God, have faith that if this door isn't open well enough for you, God will open another one. But God does not want you to risk yourself or put your trust in human beings so much so that your mental state is imbalanced and you allow it because you're enslaved because of salaries. No, don't do that to yourself. You are better than
Right. So, Emily, I'm just wondering, this is a boss that is consistently probably giving you bad performance recommendations. And like you rightly said in your submission, you have reported that nothing is being done about it. How do you ensure that that is not, spoiling your record or following you up into your next environment? Because you may have left at some point, but then again, you need recommendation from the organization or from your immediate boss. How do you handle that kind of issue? What do you do to safeguard, yourself from such bosses once you move on?
So I remember when I wanted to recommendation from my boss. Obviously, I knew he would not give me the recommendation. I went to one of my indirect bosses who I was very good with, and he gave me the recommendation. So, as much as you work in an organization where your line manager might have issues with you, you have other managers to report. So,
Mm,
make sure that you do not destroy all the relationships around you. There are good ones happening around you. Like I always like to say, see the glass as half full and not half empty. If it's not working with this boss, it's not working with that one. And if you find yourself in a company that's very small and you are reporting directly to the boss on top, then you have to find somebody who's a professional mentor who knows it professionally that can also give recommendation.
right.
So it's very important to build relationships. Don't joke with it. You never know who you will
Mm.
need tomorrow. Mhm.
Another thing that last week I chanced upon was that, you know, at interviews, you may be asked about your former employer, you may be asked about your former um, supervisor, and this is a case where you had a difficult one that made life hell for you. How do you address that kind of a situation in an interview room? Do you go brutally open or do you shield? What do you do?
You have to be as assertive as possible, but professional. Answer in a professional way. My boss and I did not really kick off very well. We were not compatible. As much as I tried, I was unable to reconcile our differences. So I just did what I could do, and when I saw it wasn't working, then I bowed out.
Okay. But have you ever had a situation where you had to, answer why you left or why you think he was a difficult boss, and how did you handle that?
So I would if it's if it's not an information that's confidential to the company, I would share. Obviously, I won't mention the name of my boss.
Mm-hmm.
So I will speak about the issue and talk about what happened as objectively as I can. But make sure when you are giving such feedback, don't try to make your boss or highlight or your boss being a monster. You get it? So
Mm.
just give the same response I gave. There was an issue that happened because of staff, probably say SNIT registration. I gave my advice to my boss. My boss did not see the reason why I had to do it that way, and he had a problem with me because of that. And I only gave him the advice because I felt I was trying to save the company from, acquiring more costs, but he did not care at that time. And I still went ahead to do the right thing, and then he fired me because he felt I disrespected him. And that's it.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So this is a case where it is said that one single nut can spoil the whole lot.
Bunch.
Yeah. So this is one person who seem to be toxic, but you know that sometimes it's extend to making the whole work environment also toxic, because other people are most likely, if it is condoned, to also want to follow his steps and also be abusive, and this works into the fabric of the organization. So I want you to speak to that issue or address it, how that should be stopped, because like wildfire over time it begins to catch up with all other people, even though they may not have that nature or character. Some people may begin to think that he's getting away with a lot of things. Why not us? Why? And even subordinates begin to probably have a way of handling people from that particular department or even other bosses, because they see you as probably the people giving your boss hell. So how do you speak to that issue for us?
I'm not sure I get a question properly to answer properly.
Right.
Are you trying to say that some organizations condone toxic
Mm-hmm.
bosses and that other people behave the same way?
Yes, other people may be tempted to also behave, yes, the same way, because they believe that that person gets away with whatever that they do.
Vera, I have seen those kind of things. I have worked in such environments before. And in conclusion, they don't have a culture. That organization, when good people were resigning, every
Hmm.
one of them in my exit interview form said this company does not have culture. It was very bad, Vera.
Right.
Yes, because it was so annoying that the bad ones were getting promoted, they got away what they were doing, and that is what encouraged more people to be like that. And so that's what
Mm,
makes the politics very interesting.
mm,
Okay. And those of us who want to go by the books, those of us who are the true knowns, you are the ones that rather get into trouble. Yes.
right. Right.
So it's almost like if you're doing bad, you're rewarded for doing bad. If you do good, you're punished for doing
Mhm,
good. And obviously, there are certain people that will not take that.
mm,
Please, there's no need for you to even, they won't stay. No.
yeah.
You see, good talent is hard to find. And there is currently what we call the talent war, where you are trying to identify the best and most capable employees to be able to meet your organizational objectives and achieve them. And they're not many to find them. And those people, once you get them and your culture does not fit them, they are very quick to find another way because somebody else is looking for them.
Mm, mm,
You understand me? So, if as an employer you take for granted your organizational environment or climate, and you think that's going to be business as usual, COVID-19 is too small to expose you. Trust me. COVID-19 is too small. They said our vice president said something. When the fundamentals are weak, the
mm.
foreign exchange will expose you. So the same thing.
Ah,
When the fundamentals are weak, the business environment will expose you.
I am tempted to bring in the scripture that says that when the foundation be what faulty, what
Ah,
can the righteous
right.
do?
So you see, it's a principle. You cannot run away
Right.
from it. Many
Mm,
organizations today have fallen off by the wayside because of things like this. You cannot sustain a business this way. It's impossible.
mm, right. We've been joined by Christianami here. She says that this is interesting. We have Rita Ejakumbedi Akun who says, I had a boss like that who used to belittle me, abuse me verbally. Right. So in just a few minutes, we are going to take your last words on what what we should do when we encounter such people. But before you come in, I realized that it means that eventually this culminates into a toxic work environment. So it means that certain work environments condone these things and they become toxic. And
Yeah.
eventually they experience high turnover. And out there, they are not known as the employer of choice. Eventually they begin to lose out on getting the right caliber of talent to work with. And it can really
Absolutely.
harm the organization, right? So it's unfortunate, but I hope that as many of employees and employers who are listening to us will take steps to get help for such people and also get help for the organizational culture. Because you see, every organization has a culture. But as to whether it is right or it is toxic is another issue. There's definitely a kind of culture that is it's culture is it's something you can virtually touch. Once you enter the environment and you're designing, it's just a matter of minutes and you know what kind of culture it is that rules there. So then we wrap up very quickly. Emmeline, your last words.
Managing a difficult boss is Herculean, but it is possible.
Mm,
Um, at the end of the day, know that your worth or value is not dependent on your toxic boss. No matter what your boss does to you, whether he values you or not, add value to yourself. Keep adding
mm,
value to yourself. Do not enslave yourself to work an environment that does not make you function normally
mm,
or put you in harm's way. No, do not idolize salaries or live in a comfortable life at the detriment of your mental health. Because most mental health issues, if you don't take care, can be permanent and
mm.
dent your career forever. It's
Yeah.
better to temporarily go through a discomfortable zone to save your mental state than for you to kill yourself for people who do not value you. Okay? But at the end of the day, make sure you are able to be confident and assertive enough to let people know you stand for what is right and you will not compromise your value. I wish you all the
Yes.
best in your career endeavor.
Thank you so much, Emmeline. One thing that stands out for me is that don't condone certain situations, don't condone a toxic environment, don't condone a toxic boss, but safeguard your mental health. Because if you don't safeguard it, it can become permanent and that can be very detrimental to you, your generations, your family, whatever. So let us work on ourselves. Let's add value to ourselves. But by all means, when push comes to shove and you must leave, don't look back. Move on and safeguard your mental health. Thank you, our cherished listeners. Thank you, Emmeline. We meet here again next week, Sunday at 4 p.m. to discuss other powerful topics. All right, so ciao to all of us and have a good evening.